There was actually a point in my painting journey where I could feel something was missing. Not in how I express myself, but in how my work came together. And I just kept searching for what made certain paintings of mine feel strong, clear, and complete, while others were just missing all of that. And eventually I found it. So this week, I want to invite you to join me as I continue working on the painting from last week while talking about three things that instantly made my paintings stronger. Last week, I started painting on this canvas after I had been just having fun and exploring with it. Everything was chaos, so I thought it would be a great way to share why I found out that intuition alone isn't enough. Intuition is essential, and it's how I found my way into expressive abstract painting in the first place. But I kept struggling, so I knew that there had to be more. So I kept doing what I think most artists do. I kept scrolling and looking at the work of artists that I admired, trying to figure out what they were doing that I wasn't. I knew experience had something to do with it, but I kept thinking there had to be more. I was sure there was something else going on that I just hadn't found out yet. So I kept searching, and it turns out there was more. What I eventually discovered were three things that completely changed how I paint. And once I understood them, I mean really understood them, my work got stronger fast. Not just more expressive, but more complete, more intentional. And an extra bonus, I actually started finishing my paintings too. These three elements are still a big part of the way I shape every painting that I make today. Let me walk you through them. Number one, value. Before I understood value, I avoided darks without even realizing it. I stayed mostly in the mid-range because it felt safe and comfortable. But then I began to see how value actually creates structure. It brings weight and clarity to a piece. And that doesn't mean that everything needs to be high contrast, but if there's no value difference, there's nothing for the eye to hold on to. Now I use value with purpose, sometimes boldly, sometimes subtly, but always with awareness. It's one of the most powerful tools that I have. Number two is variety. I used to rely on what felt good and what came naturally. My marks were expressive, but they were also really repetitive, and it made my work feel boring. That's when I began changing things up on purpose. I started using different types of marks, different kinds of movement, and different ways of creating tension and release. So essentially, I turned how I used to work upside down, and finally, my work started to breathe. You know, variation adds interest, but more than that, it adds emotional range, and it's what makes your paintings feel alive. Number three, color. Now, color was always intuitive for me. And it was definitely not always intentional. I used to pick colors just because I liked them. Sometimes it worked, other times not so much. And the painting would just end up feeling off, and I couldn't figure out why. It wasn't until I started to understand color value, saturation, and harmony that all of this started to click. Now that I think about how colors relate to each other and how they balance and how they support or even fight each other, that is when I really started to feel confident in my color choices. You know, it's not about knowing every single rule. It's about noticing what the painting needs and knowing how to respond to it. Value, variety, and color were the three things that lifted my art the quickest. They were what I had been missing in my work. They gave me something solid to work with alongside my intuition. Value, variety, and color were the three things that lifted my art the quickest. They were what I had been missing in my work. I go deeper into this in my course, but if you want to start building more clarity in your work now, grab the clarity checklist. It's free and it helps you see what your painting might need next so that you can move forward with more confidence. Let me know in the comments which one of these three clicked for you the most. All right, see you next time.